All right, let's call the special meeting of the County Commission to thank you all for being with us. And purpose of our meeting this afternoon is to meet with Mr. Slavin and his colleagues to talk about our search process for the permanent county manager position. So thank you for being with us, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm Bob Slavin. I think we met most of you the last time I was here. My colleague Barbara Lipscomb, who has until about a year ago been the city manager of Greenville, North Carolina, and prior to that, other places. I'm very proud to have her with me. My need for in this meeting is to hear from you rather than spend a lot of time talking. Since I was here last, I've spent a lot of time looking at things that information provided by the county to me, some of which I requested, some of which was volunteered, spending time on your website, listening to the citizen input meeting and the department head meeting information that you folks garnered. Have also had the opportunity to review a lot of documents, including the job description that is approved job description for this job, which I've made copies of, and I think would like for you folks to look at. In addition to that document, I have drafted and this is a draft, an announcement, which I'm confident needs some adjustment, and will be adjusted based on what I hear from you today. And I'd like to pass it out any thoughts you have about that. If you want to spend some time with Wright and make comments about it and get back to me, is fine too. But once this is approved, the job description is approved, we're off and running. In addition to a job description, you'll see a recruitment profile, which is a more velocity multi-page document that has a lot of graphics in it, but the basis of it, if the information in the job description is correct, then the information in the recruitment profile will be correct, and vice versa. So, at any rate, I'd also like to pass that out, and for your thoughts. One of the things that is very clear to me is that what you folks have established, qualifications you've designated in a county manager and the responsibilities that are assigned to that job are highly consistent with what county managers do and with what I think those documents, as far as I'm concerned, describe the job very well and describe the qualifications of individuals who would be qualified to do the job. That's all easy to figure out, and it's easy to figure out when people submit resumes whether they meet that criteria or not. What's far more important is the softer elements that will make this job successful. How the person fits into, and their style and personality and leadership characteristics fit into this culture, the culture of this organization, are critical to the success and outcome of this process. And I'd like to have you folks share whatever thoughts you might have about what might fit this organization in terms of some of those soft skills. In other words, what they do is pretty obvious from the information I have. How they do it, I think, is assuming that people meet that criteria. How they perform, what they do, and how they do it is critical to the success of the person I have here. I also want to there's some questions that I would like to have you respond to, but I find that if I open the meeting by asking for your thoughts about things like about the characteristics you'd like to see, about issues that the person is going to face just simply because it's here and now, and how and other the components of how they do the job, like communication, how you want to be communicated with as a board by the manager, whether you want the manager, how much time you expect the manager to be out in the community, dealing with external stakeholders, business leaders, other governmental agencies, the media, what your thoughts you have about what kind of characteristics would bring the best out of your staff. Those are the types of things that I'd like you to address. I've got compensation information and I've got benefit information, and on that subject, unless I fail to say it, it's been our experience that if we advertise these jobs with no numbers, but rather just have a pretty good idea of what you're willing to do, and then get folks who are qualified to respond, it works better. If we put a number out there that's too low, you won't, people we might otherwise be willing to afford won't apply. You put a number out there that's too high, that's the only number anybody's going to see. So I'd rather do the way I just suggested. So we don't need to spend a lot of time talking about compensation unless you've got some thoughts you want to share with me about that. If you've got any thoughts about, if you know people you think might be qualified for this job that you think might be worth us contacting, a lot of the work we do in recruiting, the recruitment phase of this is knocking on doors. You can either share those names with me by email or by phone, or if you want it, or through George. Probably not, couldn't do it in public meeting. Any thoughts you have about that would be extremely important to me as part of the network. With your permission, I would like to be quiet and get and have you folks share with me some things that you think that would be helpful for us to know as we begin this process. If you're willing to do it that way, that would be helpful to us. One of the reasons we do it that way is we ask questions to get answers. We know we're getting answers to our questions, but we run the risk of never giving you the opportunity to tell us what's on your mind. So rather do that than backfill questions.
All right. I mean, there's a lot there. So you want to just kind of like
yeah, let me suggest a category if you would.
Great.
Community attributes, things that would make that maybe people who've been here would know the county would know, but people who might be interested in this job and qualified for it, who've never been here, what types of things do you think would make this an attractive opportunity for somebody that might encourage them to move here and accept this job?
Are you asking about attributes of the community or of the candidates?
Of the community. What would, yeah. Or the county.
It goes back to our community needs, which I think we had not very many people filled. So
we're still trying to figure out, in the long run, what we do need, And I think some of us have seen pretty well what we do need in a county manager since George has come on board. But, everybody's got their own opinion. So, but the community deal right now, we tried it. It just, as far as I'm concerned, it just fell through. And that's the way I look at that.
We had talked about that before, and that you were going to handle that, and that's not unusual. Particularly if it's a forum where you ask people to come in and talk, rather than invite people to come in and talk. That doesn't surprise me.
So let me take a shot at this, and I'll also pull Commissioner Friars into this also. I think one of the reasons that when we put out that we're hiring a county manager and we want input, we don't get a lot of, we haven't been getting a lot of people that would come to those meetings. That may not be different than a lot of communities. So if I could take that and maybe translate that into our community. Our community is a busy community. Families are busy. A lot of families are busy trying to figure out how to afford to live here. A lot of people are very busy, discovering why they came here. A lot of people are really busy protecting here, trying to keep others from coming and changing here. And so that's going on. People are busy, they're going to work, going to church, they're raising kids, they're trying to do the best that they can. And I say that because It's probably not a lot different than some other growing, bigger cities in the state of North Carolina that are stretching and trying to find out, how attractive are they? How attractive should they be? What assets do they have? What assets do they want to add? And all that's very complicated. So a county manager needs to know that, and in my opinion, county manager, has to be able to go out. If they don't know anything about Buncombe County, and Buncombe County is beyond Asheville. Asheville is an integral part of Buncombe County. It's the big city, in Buncombe County. It's where a lot of the draw and the advertising that causes people to come here mentions the city of Asheville, and not as much Buncombe County. However, the assets that go beyond entertainment are beyond the city. When we look to the west, we look to the east, we see the mountains, we see all those things. But between, I was talking to somebody about some of the smaller towns, some of the I was in a couple of small, I was talking about Swannanoa this week, I was talking about Candler this week, I was talking about with friends and constituents, and they were explaining to me that the unusual needs were those that don't have as much as others will. And in my opinion, a great county manager, we could have a good county manager, but a great county manager would learn the personality of the county, I was talking to somebody today about the difference between Weaverville and Marshall, and Marshall's in another county, but it's not unlike what's happening in Marshall. It's not unlike what happened a little bit over time in West Asheville, or what's happened in little areas in Candler. You got young people coming in and different things are happening. And I can talk a lot on this stuff, so these guys will have to keep me in bounds, but we're going to have someone that can engage the community to where they're going to have enough confidence, which is not going to be easy, to come to meetings, to come here, to let their voice be heard. But that county manager is going to have to understand all those different voices and the different places in the county, and get out and understand them and know them, and know that we have a South Slope, we have a Hill Street, and we have Orchard Street in Candler. All of our difficult neighborhoods with challenges. And we got, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. Not in the country. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. That's one of the challenging assets as we deal with roads. We do not put in roads and infrastructure. We deal with the pain of it. So they got to understand that this is growing right now. It's very hot. They're going to come into a market that we're dealing with calls all the time about what are you going to do about traffic? What are you going to do about the building? What are you going to do about? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you go. We have challenges. We have so much traffic. A lot of people in a hurry, and and I was too. Coming this afternoon. I hit one red light coming from Canada. That was awesome. Just one.
I think,
Thanks for jumping in.
I know you. I think the first part of it is, I think Buncombe County is extraordinary. I think it offers to people that have means many, many different avenues of lifestyle. I think when you go around the county, there's truly something for everyone if that person has means. And I think it could be quite attractive because, Buncombe County is on the upswing. It's getting famous and famous and famous, and it's challenging as far as traffic and zoning, but those are good problems to have as far as nobody wants to be here, and downtown is all boarded up and there's no economic income. And And the other thing is, let's face it, the new manager, if they're not a thief, the bar is pretty low, to be honest. You know, if they don't deceive people and are honest and open, they're gonna earn the community's trust. So I think, you know, for the new manager coming in, it's a pretty advantageous position because our bar is a little bit lower now. And it's a great place to be here.
You know, what I'd like to do is just talk about, you know, what you want to hear is, we're talking to somebody who's moving into Buncombe County, want to tell them the advantages of coming into county. And I'll just put on my banker's hat before, because that was part of my job, talking to recruiting before I retired, people to come here. And I would always start by talking about the quality of life in Buncombe County. We're fortunate. It is a good place to live. You know, when you look at our education system, if you have kids, we have two excellent education systems in the city school system and the county school system. Healthcare, we have, Mission Hospital has been in for the last 5 years or so, the top 15 hospitals in the country. And even though now they're in the process of selling it for profit, but I don't think that will hurt the healthcare in the area at all, because we'll be getting the foundation that they're creating to sell at the hospital will be around $2 billion and generate $50 million a year, you know, in the footprint. And then when you look at, we have to tell them, in this county, it's from, you know, you hear about Asheville all over the world. You know, when I was in Beijing, China, people knew about Asheville, or in Ireland. Wherever you go, they know about it. But the one thing people need to understand about this county is that we go from one extreme to the other. We don't have all super rich or millionaires here. We have very poor people too. And that's what I wish more people understood in Robert, and they don't. But I think this is, you know, and when you look at that, you have to tell them a lot, depends on, especially though, I'd like to go back to the quality of life, because it's a good place to live when you look at the environment, the mountains, where we are. We're nowhere from Charlotte, Knoxville, Tennessee, Greenville, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia. It's all fine. But two, in talking to them though, I think it's always good to make it clear that the cost of living here is not the cheapest. And you know, you pay for the lifestyle here, the quality of living. But I think that's one of the keys. You know, it's easy, and especially at the level we're looking at for county manager and what we're being paid, what the county manager will be paid. I don't think it will be difficult, you know, to sell the position to somebody, especially if they understand they're coming into a job that based on what's happened, they can only go up. You know, it's pretty hard to go back. But I think that's, you know, the positives from where we are.
I'm glad you said that. And you're right, the compensation level that I'm aware of should not be a problem for the county manager. And there are other places in this country that are a lot more expensive to live than Asheville.
I think the one thing I hope we don't get caught up in, when I was on the school board, we made this mistake and took it for granted. Let's make sure that the new county manager understands we expect them to live in Buncombe County. You know, we don't want to come in here looking at McDowell or one of the other counties because it's cheaper to live there, you know, and in close proximity. But, you know, we expect them as taxpayers to be taxpayers.
There are some options within the county in terms of the cost of the living. Is there?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we got plenty, yeah, they can get just about whatever they want, yeah.
I'd echo a lot of what's been said just about how amazing this community is and beautiful, and I think, you know, one thing that stands out to me about Buncombe County is just that sort of wherever folks are in their life cycle, there's a lot of resources and opportunities here. So if it's someone with younger kids or kids who are still in the K through 12 systems, you know, great public schools. If it's folks who are kind of maybe this is the last chapter before retirement. This is a place that offers a lot of resources around that. So in terms of not just being sort of family friendly, but having a depth of resources kind of across the life cycle. Of course, the natural environment is, you know, an incredible and important part of this community and attracts a lot of people here for different reasons. In terms of Buncombe County specifically, a couple of things that jump out to me are, one, the strength of the county staff. It's, you know, about 1,500 people strong, and in some ways that have been very publicly recognized, like innovations around the Family Justice Center or the Justice Resource Center. There's a lot of really innovative policy work and programming work happening, and I think someone who is excited by that and also you know, excited to see staff grow into their leadership and have room to lead is a kind of leadership style this would be someone who'd be joining some initiatives that already have some great momentum and sort of mean that they're back. Building on that, I think this is, you know, looking for candidates who'd be excited about the strategic priorities that this board has identified. We passed a slate of them last winter that kind of have prioritized the types of issues we're working on, whether it's supporting early childhood education development or responding to the opioid crisis, or, you know, or working around economic development, especially around those communities that are not experiencing sort of the prosperity of this moment. So someone who's going to not just be passionate about that and excited about working with a bipartisan commission on that, but also bring ideas to the table around how you go from got to respond to the opioid crisis to we want to actually be looking at some concrete strategies and how to implement them and doing that. And then I would just, you know, just because I think it bears repeating is, you know, there's this is true in any community, but I think especially true here. There's what people's daily experience is like as community members is dictated so much by the circumstances of the zip code they were born in, and we know more specifically in Buncombe County, often by the color of people's skin. You know, that we both have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the state and incredibly disproportionate rates of unemployment in the local Black community, disparities across the life spectrum of the local Black community, and pockets of deep poverty both within the city of Asheville and in other parts of the county where it's more rural, whether smaller towns or unincorporated areas, more rural communities. So, you know, I think someone who's who understands that our work involves engaging both of those things at once and representing all of those folks at once, and someone who kind of gets that in their heart, not just their head, and will be comfortable in all those different community spaces as well.
A couple of things I look at. I've been here 59 years. Myself and Al Whiteside's been here our whole life. I think what we got to look at is someone's got thick skin, because no matter what the outcome is here, they're going to reflect it back on the past if it don't go the way they want it. They're going to say, well, we've got a county manager just like we had, or boy, this is great. You know, somebody's got to make this decision here, or we've got to make the decision, but the county manager is going to take blame on a lot of the things. The challenge that they've got is going to be, they're going to reflect on the past for the next 5 years, no matter who it is. The history here is so big in Asheville. You know, I was born here in the 50s, so the changes from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, you know, so want them to be prepared for the future, because it's going to change again. I'm saying it every 15 years. We've got a new clientele, people coming in here, and they want changes. They want it like it was where they come from. That's one of the things I don't understand is why they left the place they did if they want to change us, if it was so great. And one thing I would not like to see is someone that's moving here because they have family members here. I want them to come here because I want them to do what's best for this county. I don't want to move it here to be closer to their family, or, you know, say this is a place I want to retire. I hope we find someone that is young enough, that's got a passion to want to do this job and make everyone accountable. It's like our manager we have now. I want to think about the future, you know. He has laid a lot of things out for us to be prepared for. And in my 2 years here, the other managers did not tell us what was coming in the future. This one here told us what we should be looking at if we're going to keep this county profitable.
Mr. Farmer, we have Randy.
I would agree.
All right, we agree. Well, I think we probably don't have a lot more to add. Maybe I would just underscore just the, the observation that I think Mr. Belcher started with, which is that, I think in some ways the Buncombe County gets kind of defined as a certain identity, overall. And, like any community, we have our, kind of demographic, preponderances and things like that. But it really is a very diverse community. Asheville does get a lot of attention, great city, but I think only about 40% of the people in the county actually live in the city, or maybe even just a little bit under 40. 35.
Less than
About a third.
30.
About a third of the residents of the county live inside the city limits. So
The city of Asheville?
That's right. So well over half live outside the city limits. A lot of it's, within the kind of urbanized areas right around the city limits. There's a lot of folks there too. But there's the majority of the people live outside the city, and the majority of the land itself is really, fairly rural. Got a lot of national forest here, just undeveloped land. So it's not, it's certainly not an entirely urbanized county. So we've got one city, it's bigger than the others. We've got great small towns and really a lot of rural communities and population as well. So we definitely want someone who will be able to relate to and connect to, these really distinct neighborhoods and communities throughout Buncombe County. And everybody, we want this to be someone who folks will look at, everyone will be able to say, I relate to that person, they get what our issues and concerns are. And, but it's really what part of what makes the community such an interesting place is it's, it's not just a city, or it's not just, a rural area. It's really got this very kind of diverse mix of kind of urban and rural communities throughout it. So, and they're all adding a lot to what this place is about.
What percentage of the residents of this county live outside, or live within the unincorporated areas of the county? I think there's 6 incorporated jurisdictions other than the county. And do you have any idea how? And are you providing direct services to those who live in the unincorporated area?
So it's about, I think over a third is in Asheville. The other small towns, I think, don't add up to a third. So it's probably a little over a third lives in unincorporated areas. Probably a little under a third lives in the other small towns in the county, and then about a third lives in the city of Asheville itself. So, the other municipalities, the folks who do live in municipalities, of course, get a lot of different direct services from the municipalities that they live in. But a lot of the county's services in terms of working with the sheriff's department, health and human services, are either countywide or in some ways maybe even more important to the folks who live in unincorporated areas because they don't have any municipality to look to.
Right. And I think there are about 8,300 people in Black Mountain, not quite 4,000 in Weaverville. So Black Mountain is the largest one. So total population one from the unincorporated areas and counts from municipalities.
Do they look to those residents, look to the county as their local government?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
mean, those that, look to government at all, I mean, they know that Buncombe County is where they get their services from, so.
I think to what Commissioner Fryer was saying about people not coming, I think, one of the problems is what Joe was saying as well, but I think a lot of people don't feel, one, they're busy, but two, I think sadly, I don't think they think it matters, and I don't think it's just for Buncombe County, but I think they don't think their opinion matters, that's why voting is lower. And so to get the impetus to show up at a meeting and think that people are going to really listen
that one thought I had was a little more, a little different take on that, and that is if there are no huge issues that are preying on people's minds, they might not show up. Many won't show up that otherwise would.
I think the biggest crowd we ever had here is about national forest and Big Ivy. And we've never, and all we were doing is signing a proclamation to send to Congress to not log in this forest. But I don't think we've ever had as many people show up to anything as we did for that.
Swimming pool was pretty big. But you're right.
It was hours.
You're right, and we'd have a budget, we'd be going over the budget, and you'd have, 10 people out.
Yeah. Another.
I was gonna say that there's some, also whoever comes here's gotta understand the topography of Buncombe County and the challenges associated with that. Okay, if they're coming from a county, and this may sound so obvious, but it's really not. If they're coming from somewhere that's flat.
Oh.
I left Candler Tuesday night to go to Beulah Baptist Church on North Turkey Creek in Leicester. It took me 44 minutes. If I had a helicopter, I could have been there in 3 minutes. Because there's just no easy way to get there. So, because of that, you have challenges with EMS. You have challenges with providing services. You have challenges with trash. Boy, that's the truth. Amen. Amen. We have challenges with accessing some of the care that had been mentioned. The nursing homes, the health care. It creates little pockets of poverty because it's farther out there than you think, and people can't get their trash somewhere and it ends up on the side of the road, just different things like that. But they got, and I'll say this, that we've had a lot of people that, move to Buncombe County, and I'm not against what I'm getting ready to say. But, you come out of Miami and you want to invest a lot of money in that county, or you want to invest a lot of money in greenways. It's a little different here, and doing the math, and people got to understand that. They got to be able to talk through that, advocate it for, and be able to listen to the why behind concerns with folks that are not against everything. There's just a why there, and we're different. The topography is different. That's what makes us gorgeous. Creates challenges. My wife today was going to pick up our grandson, which she left from Tunnel Road and decided she was going to go down by the Swananoa River. That was a real bad move on her part, and so not today because it's underwater. Yeah, and so anyhow, we have our challenges. They have to understand that. They have to know that and know how to react to some of those things.
What causes it to get underwater? Last night's rain.
It's right beside the river, Swananoa River, the road.
It doesn't get out fast. It doesn't get out fast enough. That's an area where the water comes through there and it gets up very quickly and can't get out.
But one school district in the east had to close at 11 today because of flooding.
You talk about Asheville being a big city, and then you have a number of smaller communities. Is there a particular leadership role or leadership style that you would be looking for from your next manager relating to the sister community?
They've got to have a style where they can communicate with everybody. Where it's the millionaires in Biltmore Forest, or it's the people who live in places like Broad River and Sandy Mush. I think that's the key, or the people who live in Asheville, which is our metropolitan area. But you need somebody who is good at communicating with people and who comes across as being genuine, not, as artificial and trying to, fit in. It's somebody who naturally, they've got to be good with people if they're going to survive here.
Yeah, and another thing, we have phones, y'all know that, we have phones. I'll complete that sentence, that sounded terrible. We have phones in Buncombe County, you can put that in the paper.
Did you have a little coffee today?
I have not had enough coffee. But a really good leader at whatever level, if a phone call comes in to their office, they are not afraid to pick that phone up and go, this is so-and-so county manager.
Right.
Because we do that in our office. If you're here in our office, I don't think there's any commissioner here that will push the default button and let that go to voicemail. We will pick that phone up and answer that, and this is, Brian Newman, chairman, whatever. A great county manager will pick that up, they'll tell the problem, and they'll listen to the problem, and then, after they've heard the problem, then they will move that to the proper department, instead of moving it to the department before they even listen to the problem. A really great leader will listen to the problem, take the time to take that call, and then take it to the department. Instead of, well, let me get somebody that can help you, but without listening. They got to be able to listen to them. And they'll probably be able to, most of them will be able to handle that and talk through that. A great county manager will do that. Hi, George. You do that. Sometimes you wish you didn't pick the phone up, but it's your job. It's what you do.
If you don't pick it up the first time, it's going to come back to you in the long run,
And
it won't be so friendly.
They will eat you up the second time.
I would add to that, just to your question, yeah, I'd see that as a very key characteristic, is the ability to collaborate and listen and be in kind of active dialogue with other municipalities and surrounding communities. Two ways that we see that coming up right now. One came up at our last meeting, relates to the sale of Mission Hospital to HCA, and there's going to be a creation of a foundation that will serve 18 counties across the region, and opportunities for a coordinated and collaborational approach, both within Buncombe County municipalities, but also with surrounding counties, I think is key in that. So someone who's kind of can read the landscape around that and have those relationships in place. And then another piece is that around some issues, Buncombe County also plays a regional role. And the opioid crisis comes to mind, first of all, is because of the healthcare services, the mental health services that exist here, specifically some of the specialized services around addiction, medicine. Folks from all 18 counties come here to be served.
18 counties?
Well, from this region.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a medical hub for the region. So to some, that comes up in a lot of different ways when we think about the ways that local services are taxed and strained, and also the responsibility we have to our neighboring counties in responding to a crisis that, many of these are counties that don't have the resources from their tax base to have a standalone maternal health clinic for women during pregnancy who are using. So, someone who just, I think, is able to navigate sort of the ins and outs of, that's a opportunity with one example and a crisis with the other, where that kind of collaboration is required.
Is, when you're providing services to somebody that lives in one of these other 17 counties, is there a cost involved in that, cost recovery involved?
Well, it's not that Buncombe County necessarily is providing the services, but agencies that we work with closely, like RHA, which does mental health services, or Mission Hospital, they are absorbing and providing those services. So it's straining systems that are based here that we're funding for the Buncombe part of the provision, but when you sort of look at it through a systems lens, those pieces are connected.
Well, everything's been said, it's been good ideas. But one thing we have a problem with, everybody in this county right now, not everybody, but a lot of them, don't trust any of us. None of us. I get emails all the time. So we have to watch how we do what we're doing to pick. We've gone through a lot with Miss Green and Mandy and Creighton and the whole package. So George was a benefit, still is. But we have to be careful as a board ourselves. That's the way I look at it. 3 of these people were not part of the board when some of this stuff went down. There was 4 of us that were. And, but I got an email today from a lady beating me up over AV Tech, big time.
Yeah, we all got it.
Well, I pretty well talked to the lady and told her that the information that Mr. Brummett got was from me, part of this county, because I'm a trustee over there. So she finally got a little bite. I said, it's not all this here, but the way they're laying it out, they're beating us up, and I actually showed these people where we was at with that stuff. So we have to be careful. We have to think really hard. And, you know, am I the smartest? No, person. It takes me more than 15 minutes to make any kind of decision. And I'm listening to the other 6 of us here. There's 7 of us total. And I'm listening to all 6 of them. Ms. Frost has brought some good stuff forward. So has Joe. So have you, Brandon. And we have to look at different areas. We can't stay in an area of everything has to be through whatever service. We have to have a county manager that looks at everything. You don't keep doing one thing and keep making it bigger. Because when you make it bigger, that costs the taxpayer. And the taxpayer right now is, as George says, we have a problem, none of us listen. You know, so I'm not ready to go up any property taxes, but these people are going to watch us real close, and I don't blame them. You know, and that's why we brought you in, George brought you all in. We have to have a better idea. He was a great idea. You know, is he perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. I don't think any of us are. But we have to figure it out.
I'm hearing you all saying that you're looking for a change agent, you're looking for someone to come and take what, I guess, George's build and stabilize the situation.
I think initially, there's, definitely sort of a, make sure we're doing the core job piece to it for sure. But as, I think as, again, Joe mentioned, I mean, it is a changing community. So we're definitely going to want someone who is going to be thinking about, this is, the county's going to look very different in 10 years, 20 years than it does today. We want this to be mostly good changes, and so I think it's going to, someone who's going to be excited about working in a county that has got a lot of the benefits of change, but also the pains of, the growth pains that naturally go along with that too. So I think we do want someone, I think Jasmine said earlier, we want someone who, I think part of what's neat about this opportunity is that Buncombe County is a very innovative community. And so this is a place where a county manager can do things that are really forward-looking and maybe haven't been done everywhere else before. So it's a community that's willing to, and really, I think is looking to county government to do things to try to get ahead of the issues. So it's a place where if someone finds that exciting from a policy and management standpoint, this could be a really interesting job.
I think they've got to be a visionary. That's what's critical. Because I can tell you from being here and working in banking here for 40 years, we've been fortunate the way Buncombe County has grown. But going forward, we are going to have to make sure we do a better job of planning. And that's all governments in Buncombe County. Because if we want to keep the quality of life that we have, it's not going to happen by the seat of our pants. We've got to plan for it. We've got to look at new ways of doing things. I think that's going to be critical. And in doing that, we've got to look at, and this is where I think a visionary comes into place, a person who's that way, because in doing these things, we're going to also have to look at controlling costs too. And all that comes into play. And we've got to think that when you look at our initiatives, affordable housing, what we're doing with the justice system, education, all the major things that we wanted that are on our plate, it's got to be somebody who's a visionary who can guide us to where we need to go and give us, what we need. We just can't have somebody coming in who's going to keep things the way they are. And I think that's what one of the to me was one of the disappointing things being new on the commission, is when I came in and found out that more or less it was self-preservation here, you know. It was, we had a leadership team that appeared to me that it was what they could get out of the county, not what they could put in the county. And you see where we are. But that's why I think, you know, it's got to be a visionary, somebody who's looking ahead. I mean, that's critical. And we need somebody who's had the experience. With this, we're not looking for a person who we got to train. They made the long term. We need somebody with experience who can come
Talking about local government management experience.
in. You got it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Visionary is a great word for it. And that part of that is, you know, is being really realistic about where we are likely to be in the next few months. You know, the federal investigation is ongoing. We don't know when it ends. And this has got to be someone who's ready to get right in that process with us as a commission to make sure that we're kind of doing due diligence on all the kind of organizational culture issues that will need to be addressed. And someone who has both enough vision and I think enough leadership qualities that they can help lead the county and county staff into this next chapter. So it's got to be somebody who's got a real vision around organizational culture, around ethics, around public service, that sort of servant leadership model, I'd say. And it has, and I would say a collaborative, but also a strong personality.
Yeah.
Independent. Independent thinker and independent voice. So that's a great question that you pose. I think it's helping, or at least my thinking, clarify around that visionary piece being so important.
Well, I think too, as Jasmine said, we have a great workforce. They're incredibly innovative, they're smart, they're extraordinary, and so it's not like somebody has to come in and create this workforce. The workforce is here. They just need honest leadership that they can work without fear and retribution.
Glad you said that. If it wasn't the case, it would have been hard to ask about that in a public environment.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought it. That was one of the questions that we would have asked if we were talking to you individually. I'm glad you brought that up.
We do, honestly, that's great. And amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the services we provide and
They try hard to questions are asked and they try to get them.
How much of a face of the county, does you expect the manager to play? Maybe a better way to ask the question is, who's the board envision being the face of the county, and how much of that role is the manager?
You know, I've been thinking about that, and I think it's, and I'll be really curious to, you know, when we start talking to some of the lead candidates, sort of what they think about that question too. But my sense is that when new county managers are brought in, it may be a little bit different than what would just be typical. If someone were sort of stepping into, you know, kind of normal circumstances in a county, but just, you know, in the context of, you know, the last 14 months or so, and, you know, and the loss of trust that's all resulted from that. So my sense is that we will probably want someone who's willing to play a more active role in going out to the community and engaging the community than might be typical. Because I think it is very important that the community, community members, and not just kind of your leaders of organizations and business, you know, kind of some of the circles that county managers typically spend a lot of time interfacing with, you know, other decision makers in the community, just regular folks too. I think it's important for people to be able to meet this person and kind of go through that process of helping to, you know, reestablish trust with the community and people feeling like, oh yeah, you know, I've met this person the county recruited, they seem really qualified, they seem great, it's gonna be, you know, they're gonna do a good job. So, and it may not be that same way, you know, 2 years from now, but I think in this first part of this person's role, I think probably taking a somewhat higher profile role, more active role in community engagement could be really valuable.
I think that's important because in the past, for instance, the schools administrators were told never to contact commissioners. The fire departments were told never to contact commissioners. And so even though that was at the top level, like Brandon was saying, that attitude trickles down to make us unapproachable, and that person that's giving that, they're fearful of them.
As I read some of the material we got, the particular job description, county manager appoints staff with the approval of the commission. Is that accurate? And then there's some other language in there that goes on to say that you as the VOC can waive that requirement and allow the manager to hire and fire as well. What's the situation and how, are you aware of changing?
I think the main protocol is, there's a few key positions that, also report to the commission directly, to the managers or finance director, the county attorney, clerk, and tax. But I think for most of the other department heads, we kind of view those are the county managers, department heads, and mostly it's been a process of sort of, I think what we look for is mostly communication, how are things going on that, updates on that, but ultimately it's the county commission doesn't typically get involved in those other department head positions.
One thing I want to come in here on is the trust. I think our constituents want the trust of a county manager, but I think it's got to start first within all 1,500 of our county employees, because they did not have the trust. They was afraid of being moved somewhere or fired or something. And you take 1,500 employees here with their spouse, their in-laws, that could take up 25% of our population here. So the word's going to spread, yes, we've got a good county manager now, or no, we've got the same thing again. So I would like to see whoever we get for the county manager, that first she gets the trust of all our employees first.
And I think they need to realize too that they're going to be in a tough spot when it comes to that, because I don't think the commissioners here will overreact, but if this person comes in and starts strong-arming department heads, the communication's not proper. I can tell you probably the ones that's been here, for a while, they need to know they're not going to be here. As far as this commissioner's concerned, I'm sure others, that if we hear that culture is not where it needs to be and that fear is still there, again, we won't overreact to that. But they're coming into a situation where we've heard all of that and we don't want to hear it from a new person. So they'll be under the gun a little bit, so to speak, I think. And but somebody that's really good is going to go in and meet with the department heads and create that environment where they can communicate very well and say, hey, I don't know your department. I don't know what, you guys, y'all are running it. Y'all are doing an incredible job. I'm going to be here for you to help you, and so somebody going in there and trying to, take over and drop a bomb on them and push them around and things like that's not going to work. But you're probably not going to find somebody like that. But
Well, that's the value of this meeting for us, is that you create kind of extreme, and no, we're not going to allow that. But to hear you tell us how important it is that style be presented or be provided by your next manager, is displayed by your next manager.
the other thing I'd say is, which George has done a really good job of, is I think we will be looking for more county manager reports. We can get a lot of them full. We can get a lot of information. I don't have a problem getting one every time we sit here. Every time. You know, we're sitting here, a county manager can bring us up to date on what's going on. We also, you know, have some good briefings where we get brought up on, you know, just everyday things that are operational. That's very helpful. You know, George does that, and, you know, we get, you know, you can't have any more than 3 together, but those informational sessions are very, very helpful. They're not policy sessions, but they're very helpful, so.
Well, we all get the same information.
Get the same information. Yeah, before that just was not happening. It was partisan. It was rough. It was rough. I mean,
Yeah, what I was kind of snickering about is that we've got all these questions that need asking, need answers, and they're all getting answered without us having to ask them. So, and that was my next one. How you want the manager to communicate with you, and how individually as well as collectively. And an issue where everybody gets the same information. So.
I mean, I'd like to be able to walk in a county manager's office. I have to have enough, I have to know I can't do that all the time. But I'd like an open door. I want to be able to call, I want to be able to knock on the door, I want to be able to call, you know, on a Saturday afternoon. I'm not going to do that unless there's something that's, you talk about the face of the community. Some people do it differently. Some people, you know, on Saturday afternoon, you know, we could be with constituents. Something's going on. It could be, we might need to know something. But being accessible, but, you know, we're not going to be in there, you know, all the time asking lots of questions, but they need to know that it feels good when you can knock on the door and say, you got a minute? Say, well, not right now, but I will in an hour, or, yeah, come on in. You know.
And it's got to be someone that we trust. I mean, and if they trust us, we're talking about trust with the community. I think it's critical. I want a manager, if I need to run something past them, I can go in their office and feel comfortable talking to them. I don't have to worry about hearing it later. It's different from what we talked about. Or if I'm going to talk to the manager that I feel uncomfortable doing one-on-one, and I say, Joe, let's go. You know, but you need to get another person with you to make sure that you got a witness. You know, you don't need that. I mean, but hopefully that we won't have to go through anything like that with the new manager. If we do, I don't think there'll be either one.
We'll be the first to help you find the next one.
Yeah, you got a guarantee on that.
Yeah, we'll hold you to that.
I think just in terms of communication, you know, again, we're sort of in this climate where we're all having to do things that aren't typically part of the job responsibilities in terms of the investigation, and that does include communication styles in terms of, you know, someone I think who has, at least until we're through this period, who has the experience or the comfort with sort of some of the crisis communication situations that we're in terms of, making sure we all have access to the same information at the same time, making sure there's clear systems in place for how commission level communications will become public, how county level communications will become public. We've frankly encountered a lot of challenges in the last 18 months trying to just have basic systems in place, and it's a specialized skill set. This doesn't have to be someone who's a specialist in that, but someone who either can help manage that or can help to delegate that. We have an incredible communications and media team, but I think, again, until we're through this period, that will continue to be a sort of unique communication need.
I suspect North Carolina law allows some of that information to remain confidential.
That's right.
Any specific areas of interest that you have in terms of the background of the person? Any specific focus on the economic development or the development of staff or budget and finance, fiduciary?
I mean, you know, they're gonna come right into, the budget's gonna be, it's budget time, you know, when they're coming in. In February, we're getting presentations from the schools, we're getting presentations from everybody else. We got, you know, community development grants, we're gonna have 40-some people, you know, coming in, you know, petitioning for money. And this person's gonna have to be able to navigate through that very quickly because we want to do a budget. I mean, a lot of the work's already gonna be done, because when you open your doors, you know, you got certain bills, so, you know, an awful lot is already gonna be done, but that person's gonna have to hit the ground running on that, and at the same time, again, I go back to this, making sure that the department heads, that there's a great relationship there. I think the first obligations to the department heads, to the county employees, to the team members here, and they worry about the community after that. Because they gotta hold this team together, they gotta make sure they can do that very, very well in the, not the middle of the budget, near the, you know, near the end of the budget.
Probably better for the new manager to come in once the budget is at least significantly completed.
It will be.
I would just add, you know, Jasmine mentioned earlier, you know, I really want them to be made aware of the Commission's strategic priorities. Some of those cover areas that are just kind of core services for county governments, but it also includes, you know, areas that are really important that aren't necessarily just traditional county core services. So we want someone to, we want the candidates to be aware of all of those and, you know, let them know, here's some things that governments are not necessarily required by law to do, but we think are important in this community and look for ways to make a difference.
We'll make that available to them, and we'll, I may have mentioned when I was here before that part of our vetting process includes getting a substantial amount of additional written information that's tied to your preferences and needs, not to something that we pull off the shelf. So you'll have an opportunity to read the responses to some of that before you choose to bring it here.
And I'll tell you what, I would like to see them have something that we keep pushing aside, but we're gonna have to deal with. They need to have some experience in planning and zoning. You know, that's for some people in the county a bad word. But when you look ahead, you've got to do that, the planning and all. If you don't, it will happen for you, and it'll be ugly when that happens. But I really think we need somebody who's had some experience there. Because let's face it, we aren't gonna be, if they don't come in with no training in finance, we won't see them. You know, some things you understand, but I think that's one key area that we need to see.
Is the county entirely zoned, entire county zoned?
In the unincorporated areas, I mean, technically, yes,
Technically,
but
yes.
outside the municipalities, a high percentage of the county has extremely minimal regulations on land use. If you're not building something that is horrific, then it's pretty much allowed.
Yeah, and one of the things, you know, they'll read that 80% of the county is, you know, which I don't think exactly, but anyhow, I don't want to get into that. 80% is, what do we call it? Open use. Okay, but what we got to remember, again, this place isn't flat. Okay? So when you look at the map, you're thinking, oh gosh, look at this. You know, all this is, we're going to have to get in there and do something about that. Well, some of it you may, but most of it you won't. Because it's, you're looking up at it. I mean, it's mountains, so it's different. So, and that creates, I mean, that just creates challenges. I mean, I was on the phone today talking about, you know, we talk about apartments, you know, which they're going up everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. You know, everybody, you know, we all, and I understand, you know, if an apartment complex is going up near anybody in the community, it's a concern. But what makes it difficult from a planning and zoning is I'm not opposed to apartments. We just have to be careful how they're built. when you're building in the mountains, you're building on the side of a hill, and you've got, you have to have erosion control. You have to have these things, and you have to understand that it's a little strict, it's a little tough, but it's different building in the mountains than building in Sumter.
Do you all have any planning processes where you involve with the other cities in terms of the edges and as they grow so that, you're sort of aligning yourselves and
Not much.
understanding what that growth might be?
It's talked about, but there's not, currently the different municipalities in the county are really all doing their own thing. The one place there's a little bit more is around some of the transportation planning, where some of the different projects run through multiple jurisdictions. We had and we try to cooperate on some of those infrastructure projects, like there was a sidewalk project that part of it was in the city, part of it was in the county, and so we both, our staff coordinated, we agreed that if there's ever gonna be a sidewalk built, now's the time to build it, and we all kind of contributed funds to it, but that's just sort of on an individual project type basis, not something more comprehensive.
If I can interject, they did not have ETJ.
Oh, okay, so that's the
There's a
difference.
local bill, they don't have it, so, which goes to Allison's point, is they do need a lot more planning and zoning coordination.
Yeah, when I was in Greenville, we had 3 mile limits, so that we coordinated everything that was 3 miles out.
Well, once they got rid of zoning,
Yeah.
they got rid of annexation, that field, that deal used to be 1 month. So the city don't have the annexation.
Which goes to the point, that's why you've got to have more coordination between the two bodies, because we're actually planning the urban ring, which typically they would be doing.
Yeah, and the county's doing services that, having to look at services that cities do. And it doesn't matter whether I like that or not, doesn't matter whether I support that or not, it's a fact. And so we have to, county manager needs to understand that, and people want that done, at the least, property tax dollar, you can do it. So,
There's been some local bills, specific to Buncombe County that, I think are starting to hurt us now. And,
well, and I think, we're always gonna run into anything like that, whether it be state or federal. We're gonna have things that we disagree with, and we're gonna disagree with the position of, if you polled this group about the ETJ, you'd have different opinions of it. But the fact is that, we are having to provide services that cities do. And we're having to look at, when it comes to traffic, when it comes to different things, we're having to look at things that we, so there'll be, at some point in time, there'll be some things we're doing that this guy would have said would have never happened. Never happened. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna tell you this little quick story. My wife's from Mullins, West Virginia. You don't know where that is. Go to Beckley and hang a hard left, and it gets really tight when you're driving. And there was a bridge there that was a 1-lane bridge, and they were having a conversation. It was in the 40s. And the conversation went like this. They left it as a 1-lane bridge because they said, when is there ever going to be 2 cars meeting on that bridge? Well, that's happened. They changed those bridges, and they probably should have done it sooner. We have to look at all that. So when somebody's talking about a visionary, which is a term we like to use for somebody that's a good manager, but they just have to be able to bring some of the things that's being done in other places that can help fix some of the problems here. But this county is very tax sensitive. It's sales tax sensitive, it's AB tax sensitive, it's property tax sensitive. It just is. They're going to have to work through that. have confidence that y'all will find somebody that can do that.
But we want Cadillac services.
Well, certain people do, certain people don't care if they get a service at all, you know, and we're trying to talk to all of those folks right now. And that person's got to understand it, because there's a lot of people in Buncombe County, like other counties, that don't want you to do anything. Leave me alone. I'm fine, I'm good. Don't come up my road. I don't know the government.
Yeah.
But only unless there's a fire or grandmama has a heart attack, you know, they want service. But, and I get that. I want to be left alone sometimes too, you know, but we have a big city and we're 250,000 people, $400 million budget. Somebody's got to understand that. And we got poor people across all races. We have it in certain pockets, you know, we have a terrible opioid problem, which a lot of other places have. So. But it's a great place to live, and the people that live here are wonderful. They're just, the people that live in Buncombe County are amazing. They're just, you know, you got a little bit of everything. Man, I love it.
Yeah. Just real quickly, I think I know the answer to this. There's no unions here, this is North Carolina, but is there employees have a civil service system?
Asheville. Yeah, Asheville.
Civil service.
Anything else on your minds? I did give you a couple of things. This document, which is a draft of an ad, you've got any thoughts about that? Probably need some modification based on our conversation this afternoon, but any thoughts about that? If you can give them to George and have him pass them on to us, that'd be great. And our plan would be to get this advertised and announcement out next week. And then there will be a recruitment profile, which will come a little bit later than that. And, announcing the job through this document starts the clock. So we'll have a little bit of time to get that profile done. Anything else on your folks' minds any of your minds that would be helpful for us?
I think they need to know, we could get the information. I'm thinking about our communications team. We've got, you know, somebody here representing that. And they're award-winning, national. They're national award winners in presentations that they've done. We have at the landfill, we have national, you know, people that have competed in running major pieces of equipment. You know, in every department, there's award-winning team members, and that we have been nationally recognized despite whatever's, you know, been going on at the top level. This award-winning team, you know, we have models that have been copied across the country, and I would find out what they are, and I would put that in my ad to let them know that, you know, whether it's a communication team, whether it's landfill, whoever it is, that they have been recognized for this, and this.
Just the fact that we have the Family Justice Center.
There's only one other one in the country, right?
Yeah.
It's California or something.
The Justice Resource Center.
But, you know, I think, you know, that the people that work here, I mean, there's been some innovative things that we voted on, and, you know, there's been a collaborative in the community, like the Family Justice Center, and some other things, but the people are award-winning. This talent here is amazing. And, you know, you can just tell people that, but if you show them a list of the awards, I mean, Stallman, how many awards have just 50? At least 50, and that's just the communications department. And how, just off the top, you had 10 national first place, number one national, whether it be a I mean, Register Deeds
Yeah.
had something that was, you know, within, so there's, but the employees, I mean, that department, you know, I don't think that, you know, was attributed to the head of that department. That was done by the department, because that's an elected position in here. But still, the people that work for that office, you know, I don't want any credit for anything. I don't think any commissioners up here want any credit for anything if you're trying to recruit somebody. We want the people that work for Buncombe County to receive extra credit. They're amazing. There's National NACO awards, NCACC awards. A lot of those awards are NACO awards, right? Some are.
CCMA, NC3C, NACO.
That's, Joe, but that's just going back, go back to the landfill. It's one of three. It's one of three in the nation. The landfill,
Oh,
it's one of three in the nation that's a bioreactor.
Yeah, that's right.
you provided us with a lot of that information. I think some of it sounds real familiar.
I can send it your way if, I'll check the email.
Okay.
See if not, I'll send it to you.
Can you get the other,
Award list?
yeah, the other awards? I would think that department could be able to access it. They need to know that.
We've got some of it. I'm not sure we have, I don't know whether we asked for the awards or whether the information that we've been provided, some of that came out. It would be helpful.
Well, it also will showcase some of the projects that different departments are working on, and which initiatives, won awards. It'd be good to show that.
The value of that is that it does offset some of the negative stuff people see when they.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it works good if you ask us questions too, because that gets us started.
Oh, do you guys have any other questions for us before we adjourn? Any other comments from any other commissioners? Well, thank you. Thanks. I thought this was a really good discussion, and I was afraid we run out of things to say, but we could probably talk all night. So thank you. I know you can't get all this in there, but I think this does a great job of summarizing a lot of the key information. And people have comments. Why don't we just? And I'll encourage people to email if you have any suggestions for any other little content or tweaks to it. But I think this is very good.
It would, well, thank you for saying that. We pulled it together from a variety of different sources, but I also want to look at it in the context of this company.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Buncombe County is a great place to live. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of great candidates. It's a great community, and a lot of great opportunities. So thanks for working with us on the process. Could you just, before we adjourn, just maybe again, just highlight the next steps in the process for where we're going next.
Again, what starts the clock on the 90-day clock, if you will, which isn't necessarily, could happen quicker than that, is the approval and the placement of the announcement. Used to be, and then once that occurs, the recruitment phase begins, and the process is designed to take as long as 90 days, but in today's world, it can take less than that, because so much of what we do can be done by electronic. So the goal is to have somebody here
No later than the end of February.
Yeah, we'll make that, and hopefully we'll, we have the holidays coming up, so we might have to adjust a date or two because of that, but we should have no trouble having the candidates to you interviewed and selected, so they can begin by March 1st.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you for your listening style and being attentive. When you asked us a question, whoever was talking, you're listening and not trying to influence. That's great. That's you. It was a good session.
All right. Well, I think we have accomplished what we came here to do. So with that, we will adjourn.